Your mind doesn't feel heavy by accident. And it's not because you're weak, unmotivated, or incapable of handling life. The heaviness you feel, that constant mental pressure, the sense that even simple things require too much effort, is a signal. Not a flaw. A signal that something inside you has been overloaded for far too long. Most people describe it the same way. Waking up already tired. Feeling mentally foggy even after sleeping. Carrying a quiet tension in the head or chest that never fully goes away. You're not panicking, but you're never truly at ease either. And the worst part? You can't point to a single cause. Life looks fine on paper. So you assume the problem must be you, but here's the truth most people never hear: a heavy mind is rarely caused by thinking too much. It's caused by holding too much unprocessed emotions. Unspoken truths. Decisions postponed. Versions of yourself you've outgrown but never released. The mind wasn't designed to be a storage unit for unresolved experiences. It was designed to move, adapt, and clear itself. When it can't do that, weight builds up. Think about how often you silence yourself during the day. You feel something, but you push it down because it's inconvenient. You want to say no, but you say yes to avoid conflict. You're exhausted, but you keep going because stopping feels irresponsible. Each time you do that, nothing dramatic happens, but something accumulates. Like dust settling quietly in a room you never ventilate. Over time, the dust becomes suffocating. There's a powerful example almost everyone relates to: emotional multitasking. You're working, but part of your mind is replaying a conversation from days ago. You're with people, but another part of you is worrying about the future. You're resting, but mentally criticizing yourself for not being productive enough. Your body is in one place, your mind is everywhere else. That constant split is exhausting. Not physically, neurologically. A heavy mind is often the result of living in constant anticipation. Anticipating reactions. Outcomes. Problems that haven't happened yet. You're always one step ahead, but never here. And the mind interprets that as danger. It stays alert. Guarded. Tense. That's why even calm moments don't feel restful anymore. Another overlooked cause is identity overload. You're not just being yourself, you're being the version of you that others expect. The responsible one. The strong one. The one who has it together. Maintaining that image takes energy. Especially when it no longer matches how you actually feel inside. The gap between who you are and who you present as becomes mental friction. And friction creates heat. Pressure. Wait, this is why distractions don't help long term. Scrolling, binge watching, constant noise, they give momentary relief, but they don't remove the weight. They just pause your awareness of it. When the noise stops, the heaviness returns, often stronger than before. And here's the part that changes everything: your mind isn't heavy because it's broken. It's heavy because it's asking for relief. Relief doesn't come from doing more. It comes from releasing what you've been carrying alone. If this is already resonating with you, take a moment to subscribe and leave a like. It helps this message reach people who may be silently struggling with the same invisible weight, and reminds you that you're not alone in this experience. In the next part, we'll go deeper into what specifically creates this mental heaviness on a daily basis, not in abstract terms, but through patterns you can recognize in your own life. For now, sit with this question without forcing an answer. What have you been carrying that you never gave yourself permission to put down? One of the biggest reasons your mind feels heavy all the time is that it's constantly processing things that were never meant to stay unfinished. The brain can handle effort. It can handle complexity. What it struggles with is incompletion. Open loops drain mental energy far more than difficult tasks ever will. Think about how many mental tabs you have open right now. Conversations you need to have but keep postponing. Decisions you know you must make but avoid because they might change everything. Emotions you felt weeks, months, even years ago that were never fully expressed or understood. Each one of these sits quietly in the background, consuming attention. You don't notice them individually, you feel them collectively as weight. This is why your mind feels tired even when you're not doing much. You're not resting mentally. You're carrying unresolved internal processes everywhere you go. There's a subtle but powerful example of this: delayed honesty. Not lying, just not telling the full truth. Saying "I'm fine" when you're not. Saying "maybe" when you mean no. Smiling through discomfort. Every time you do this, your mind has to remember the version of reality you presented and the version you're actually living. That split requires constant monitoring. Over time, it becomes exhausting. Another major source of mental heaviness is emotional suppression disguised as strength. Many people pride themselves on being resilient, calm, low maintenance. But resilience without expression turns into internal pressure. Emotions don't disappear because you ignore them. They stay active beneath the surface, looking for release. When they don't find it, they turn inward, into fatigue, brain fog, irritability, or a sense of numbness. You may notice this especially at night. During the day, structure and distraction keep things contained. But when things slow down, the mind feels heavier. Thoughts get louder. Sleep becomes shallow. That's not your mind malfunctioning, that's your system finally having space to surface what was postponed all day. There's also the burden of constant self-correction. Monitoring how you sound, how you look, how you're perceived. Adjusting your personality depending on who you're with. This isn't conscious most of the time, but it's draining. The mind is constantly editing itself instead of simply being. That editing process is subtle, but it never stops. And then there's comparison, one of the quietest yet heaviest mental loads. Not the obvious kind, but the background comparison. Measuring your pace against others. Your success. Your timeline. Even when you're doing well, comparison keeps your mind in a state of insufficiency. There's always someone ahead, doing more, achieving faster. That narrative becomes internal pressure. I should be further by now. Pressure without direction becomes weight. A heavy mind is often the result of living too long without emotional closure. Without mental boundaries. Without moments of true release. Not release through escape, release through acknowledgement. Here's something important to understand: clarity doesn't come from solving everything at once. It comes from closing one loop. Saying one honest thing. Making one clear decision. Letting yourself feel one uncomfortable emotion without immediately pushing it away. Each small act of completion lightens the mental load. If you're finding yourself nodding along to this is a good moment to pause and support the video. Like it and subscribe. It signals that this kind of deeper, honest conversation still has a place, and it helps others find it when they need it most. In the final part, we'll talk about how to actually lighten the mind in a sustainable way, not through hacks or motivation, but through shifts that restore mental clarity over time. For now, notice this: the weight you feel isn't permanent. It's accumulated. And anything accumulated can be released. The way to lighten a heavy mind isn't by forcing positivity, fixing your entire life, or trying to think better thoughts. That approach usually adds more pressure. A heavy mind doesn't need motivation, it needs permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to stop carrying what was never meant to be carried indefinitely. The first real shift happens when you stop asking, "How do I get rid of this feeling?" and start asking, "What is this feeling asking from me?" Mental heaviness is often a request for honesty, not productivity. It's your system signaling that something needs to be acknowledged, expressed, or changed, not ignored or optimized. One of the most effective ways to restore mental clarity is to reduce internal friction. Internal friction happens when your actions consistently contradict your inner truth. You say yes when you want to say no. You stay where you feel small. You keep proving instead of living. Each contradiction adds weight. Relief comes when your behavior starts matching your awareness, even in small ways. For example, saying one honest sentence you've been avoiding can feel terrifying, but afterward, there's often an immediate sense of lightness. Not because the situation is resolved, but because your mind is no longer holding two realities at once. Alignment reduces load. Another key shift is learning to complete emotional cycles. Emotions are designed to move through you, not live inside you. When you feel sadness, frustration, grief, or even anger, the goal isn't to analyze it endlessly or suppress it, it's to let it pass consciously. This might mean sitting quietly and allowing the feeling to exist without judgment. Writing something you never send. Admitting to yourself what you actually feel. These acts don't make you weaker, they make you lighter. You also lighten the mind by simplifying identity. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to maintain a personality that no longer fits. Letting go of outdated roles, the fixer, the strong one, the endlessly patient one, frees enormous mental energy. You're not failing by changing. You're updating. Silence plays a crucial role here. Not silence as avoidance, but silence as integration. Short moments of intentional quiet allow the nervous system to reset. 5 minutes without input. No phone. No music. Just breathing and noticing. Over time, these pauses retrain your mind to feel safe without constant stimulation. Safety is what the mind needs to release weight, and perhaps the most underrated practice of all, deciding what is not yours to carry anymore. Other people's expectations. Old timelines. Imagined futures. Mental heaviness often comes from responsibility creep, taking ownership of things you can't control. Clarity returns when you consciously release that burden. If this final part helped you see your mental state differently, take a moment now to subscribe and leave a like. This is the third and final reminder, not to interrupt the experience, but to anchor it. Supporting the channel helps keep this kind of content alive for people who need it in moments like this. Your mind doesn't need to be empty to feel light. It needs to be honest. It needs space. It needs alignment. And most of all, it needs compassion, not judgment. The heaviness you feel isn't a life sentence. It's feedback. And once you listen to it, truly listen, it stops shouting. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to stop carrying what was never meant to stay. And when you do, clarity doesn't rush in. It settles.